Hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Indy and today we have a different video that is something that I'd like to try, and that is to do a real life race recap video. And today we'll be taking a look at the NTT data Indycar Genesys 300 at Texas Motor Speedway from Saturday, June 6th. And this was a one-day event with a 90-minute practice session followed by qualifying and then a 200-lap race around the 1.5-mile Texas Motor Speedway. And Scott Dixon was the fastest in practice, with Colton Herta, Pato O'Ward, Zach Veach, Marco Andretti, and Takuma Sato rounding out the top six, while one of the four rookies, Rinus VeeKay, found the wall in turn 4 and had a bit of a crash and walked away unharmed. Qualifying followed practice, and Scott Dixon looked like a lock for pole after being about a mile an hour faster than anyone in practice, and he was sitting P1 after his lap. However, Joseph Newgarden nipped the pole away from him on the final lap of qualifying and would start on the pole alongside Scott Dixon. Simon Pagenaud was third, Ryan Hunter-Reay was fourth, Zach Veach rounded out the top 5. While he sat atop the pole in last year's race in Texas, Takuma Sato would start from the rear as he suffered a crash in qualifying and would hope to fight from the rear during the race. Rinus VeeKay would also start from the back as he did not set a time in qualifying due to a practice crash. While the field was set, all 24 drivers set to take the green flag. Just moments before the cars rolled off the grid, disaster struck for the Andretti Autosports cars as both Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi suffered from what appeared to be an electrical issue, and both struggled to make the green in turn, started from the back, and were handed drive-through penalties for unapproved adjustments before the race, putting them on the back foot, being a lap down early in the race. However, Andretti's struggles were nothing compared to the Rahal, Letterman, Lannergan cars of Takuma Sato and Graham Rahal. Firstly, Rahal suffered from some sort of mechanical issue and just barely made the start of the race, coming out of the pits as the cars were taking the green flag and eventually going 3 laps down. His teammate wasn't so lucky, as Sato's car did not make inspection before the race, and that will result in him having a did not start as a result for the season opener. Despite all the pre-race drama up front, the race got off to a rather uneventful start as pole sitter Joseph Newgarden drove off to an early lead in front of Scott Dixon and Simon Pagenaud. This was all changed when Newgarden caught the lap car of Jack Harvey, and Dixon was able to get past for the lead of the race. And with the tire stint coming to an end, Newgarden was starting to struggle from a vibration and fell back as he was one of the first to come to the pits, which started a trend as everyone had to pit before lap 35, as there was a rule set in place where no set of tires could go more than 35 laps, which I assume was due to the lack of testing due to the world situation. On lap 37, Alex Palou, one of the rookies, was exiting the pit lane, as when you can see here, Rinus VeeKay got up into the marbles, hit the wall, and lost the back end, causing him to spin and end up collecting Palou in the wreck. On the following restart, everything went to plan for Dixon as he pulled out a sizable lead as Penske teammates Newgarden and Pagenaud traded second place a few times, and Rossi continued to struggle as he fell further towards the back. On lap 73, the second Genesys car of Felix Rosenqvist started charging towards the front as he moved into third place around Simon Pagenaud, who was the second Penske car struggling from a vibration late into a run. A debris caution came out on lap 77 as the Penske cars were falling back with tire issues. Second round of pit stops were done under yellow flag, and Dixon had a bit slower stop, coming out third, while Newgarden took the lead and Rosenqvist followed suit. Will Power had an issue as he was released without a right rear tire attached, but managed to stay on the lead lap. Dixon wasn't wasting any time on the restart as he immediately passed Rosenqvist and got by Newgarden just before lap 100. Pagenaud still found himself in fourth once again, struggling from a vibration late into a tire stint. Herta was the first to make a stop on lap 118, which set a trend which was a relief for Newgarden, who had begun to fall like a rock, struggling with handling issues on worn tires, which was a common theme for the Penske cars. After the pit cycle, Dixon led Rosenqvist, followed by Pagenaud and Newgarden, while Charlie Kimball, Zach Veach, and Connor Daly were all having great runs in the top 7, the latter of which had worked his way up from 19th starting position. While having a giant lead, Dixon caught a huge train of lap traffic and was being caught by Rosenqvist, while Newgarden was struggling and had fallen back to 6th as he was complaining of a vibration just 4 laps into the stint. The Andretti struggles continued as on his debut for the team, James Hinchcliffe was running top 10 until a wheel gun failure during a pit stop put him 3 laps down. Herta once again started the pit cycle as he was the first to make his second to last stop. And during this cycle, Dixon and Rosenqvist had pulled about a 15-second lead on Newgarden, who had fallen back to third, followed by Veach, Carpenter, Daly, and Pagenaud, as Pagenaud and Kimball had fallen to 7th and 8th. Santino Ferrucci had a similar issue to Will Power, as he had been released with a loose right rear tire and was forced to retire as that car actually had fallen on the ground onto its suspension. Newgarden was the first to hit pit road for the final time, with just 22 laps to go, hoping for an undercut. Dixon was forced to stay out longer than everyone to protect himself against a late race caution, which would have put him a lap down. Despite this, he still came out in the lead. With Dixon in sight, Rosenqvist was catching the lap car of Hinchcliffe and moved to the high side, but Marco Andretti, as you can see, was making a very aggressive pass and chops down in front of Hinchcliffe, and maybe with the help of some turbulent air, Rosenqvist goes up the racetrack into the marbles and ends up losing control and spinning up into the wall, which would put him out of the race, bringing out the third caution of the race. With the number of laps dwindling down, there were many lap cars separating Dixon and the rest of the field. With just 3 laps of green, it wasn't enough, and Dixon took the win, followed by Simon Pagenaud, Joseph Newgarden, Zach Veach, Ed Carpenter, Connor Daly, Colton Herta, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was definitely my pick for driver of the race, as he came back from 2 laps down to finish in 8th position. Oliver Askew finished 9th. Tony Kanaan will round out the top 10. And another honorable mention for a great drive was Charlie Kimball, who was running in the top 5 until the last lap when he made one mistake and ended up taking himself out of the race, bringing out a caution coming out of turn 4 for the leaders. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and follow the channel for more content, and comment below how I can improve or what you would like to see on this channel.